With the 2025 pre-tampering free agency days just about in the books, Dan Morgan and the Carolina Panthers look to fill some major holes, which would possibly give a look into what the Panthers' plans would be for the 2025 NFL draft coming up next month. With the exception of one major hiccup and a couple of really good signings, Morgan, Canellis, and the Carolina Panthers Brain Trust seem to have done a pretty decent job in the early marks of free agency. Want to find out what the results of the pre-tampering period brought and what it could possibly mean for the draft in April? Stay tuned to find out on Growlin' and Prowlin'. Welcome back, Growlers. Thank you all for prowling around with us again on another edition of Growlin' and Prowlin'. Of course, you're growling with the one and only Mr. Zelo. And I hope you guys are doing great, as I am doing excellent. As we are less than a week away from it officially being the start of spring, and we are right around the corner from the first official start of the NFL season of 2025. And it officially begins on Wednesday, which is a few hours from now. And many of the teams have already done with the legal tampering process. There are still signings going on as we speak. But I just wanted to go through with a few of these as we have approached some territory that I can say that I'm appreciated of. But as of the shooting of this show, just wanted to give you guys a lowdown on the names that we have as far as what we have signed. And of course, one of the big signings was safety Trevon Moehrig, 3 years for $51 million. Defensive interior guys, Bobby Brown III, 3 years, $21 million. Tershawn Wharton from the Chiefs, 3 years, over $54. And of course, the big news of the free agent period signing, or the pre-tampering section, is J.C. Horn getting that massive whopping $100 million deal over 4 years. And as well as Michael Jackson coming back on 2 years, $14.5 million. And then, of course, today, early on, Miles Sanders was released, and which freed us up about $5 million. We also saw Andy Dalton earlier in the month sign a 2-year deal with the Panthers. Tommy Tremble was also agreed to come back on a 2-year, $16 million deal. Austin Corbett, Brady Christensen also returning. And we signed a new punter in Sam Martinez, Johnny Hecker, who's a guy I really like. I don't care what you guys on Panthers Playbook or Locked On Panthers say. I still think a guy that is capable of throwing the football and putting that threat, as well as being a great kick, great leg, is also invaluable. But let's go through it, because you look around and you have to say, what does this do for the Carolina Panthers when it comes to the draft? Now, obviously, we were able to get 2 big bodies as well as a pretty darn good edge rusher. But that's not all we need to do. We've got some really big players that are also out there. And we still have to be able to find out what it is that these guys can do. And a lot of these guys that we signed are just hole stoppers. And that's ultimately what we needed to be able to do. We needed to be able to get some really big bodies in the middle to go with one Derek Brown when he returns. And as I said, realistically, Patrick Jones was a huge deal signing this guy from the Vikings. So now we have 2 Vikings on the edge. He's coming off a 7-sack season, And the truth of the matter is that we have to be able to get pressure on the quarterback. And I'm going to be honest with you. There needs to be serious talks about Jadeveon Clowney. I would rather see Shaq Thompson's I would rather see Shaq Thompson finish his career here. And no offense to Jadeveon Clowney, but he is what he is. I think Julian Council of Locked On Panthers said it best. He is what he is, and he's not going to be a guy that's going to rack you 10 sacks. And the other beautiful thing is you've got a guy like DJ Wanham on the opposite side of a Patrick Jones II. It makes for really good possibilities with that pass rush. However, I will say this. I am hoping that with the way Shaw Smith-Wade played this season, that cornerback is not an issue. I do think that there are a couple of guys that we really need to think about as I'm going through this. And as I said, you look at the names that we were able to procure, and I really like where we are. And ultimately, as I said, I think we need to be a football team, and I hope Dan Morgan is really seriously considering looking in the draft and trading down, because the way these mocks are starting to shape up, Mason Graham is looking like he could possibly be available. And the way certain things are adding up, Tetero McMillan could be available, as well as a guy who is really sliding up my board, Shamar Stewart, edge rusher out of Texas A&M. He's got beautiful size. I really like him over anybody right now. 6'5", 267 pounds. And I know a lot of people are going to say 1.5 sacks in his final collegiate season. They're going to look at that and they're going to say, oh, well. But then Stewart excels in both the run and the pass, utilizing his explosive first step. However, his pass rushing techniques remain unrefined, often relying on raw athleticism rather than undeveloped moves. And I'm just going to be straight up honest with you. He has almost the same type of ability that one Jalen Walker. What? And I'm going to be straight up with you. I think ultimately this could be a guy that we steal. However, I think James Pierce needs to be our guy, and I'll tell you why. Two guys we need to put our focus on in this draft. I get it. We got Damani Richardson. We just got Moore. Got a free agency. But we seriously need to consider the freak of nature that is Nick Emonrory. We need to trade back and get as many assets as we can, because the way I see this draft going, let's say, to me, there's only two guys that make sense, taking at that 8 pick. And neither one of them are what the experts keep calling for. If Tech McMillan is available, you snag him. You snag him. And a lot of you are going to say, oh, no, that's not right. Well, because if we go through this draft, and I'm going to go ahead and tell you, the way this draft is looking, you could get a really good edge rusher anywhere from the 57th spot. I've seen drafts where Landon Jackson, the edge rusher, 6'6", 264 pounds, out of Arkansas has been available. Braden Swinson, the 6'3", 255-pound edge rusher out of LSU. You've got the physically gifted Kyle Kennard out of South Carolina, 6'4", 254 pounds. And then you've got some guys down in the third level. Jared Ivey, 6'5", 274 pounds. Ashton Gillette, edge rusher out of Louisville, 6'2", 264 pounds. Josiah Stewart, 6'1", 249, out of Michigan. Jordan Birch, edge rusher out of Oregon, 6'4", 279. Then you've got the wild cards, guys like David Walker out of Central Arkansas, 6', 263. So many guys that are here. You've even got the guys down lower half to the fourth. Fidel Diggs, Savion Jones. And then the defensive tackles, which are endless. I've even seen some drafts where guys like Kenneth Grant go low 50s. Maybe the Panthers trade up and if this guy's available. Walter Nolan in some drafts, he's available in the high 40s. Then you've got the third round tier type of guys. You've got Even oh my goodness, let me stop there. Darius Alexander, ladies and gentlemen, this guy was ranked 121 just 8 hours ago. He has shot up boards, and he's at number 66. So listen, there are guys in this defensive tackle. There's no way Dan Morgan can walk out of this draft without at least two of these guys. Yes, you heard me. Two defensive tackles, even though we just signed two. And I'm going to tell you, you got Alfred Collins. Shamar Turner is that hybrid kind of guy that I am absolutely in love with. 6'3", 290. And see, this is where I want you guys to understand stopping the run and pass rushing. We got to get to the realistic belief that in order for you to get to third down, you got to stop the run first. Because believe me, it ain't going to matter. When the schedule comes out and they see the Carolina Panthers, they're going to remember. They're going to remember historically bad defense. Ain't no getting around that. Teams are going to test whether or not we can stop the run. Because they ain't throwing at J.C. Horn. And with Moore got back there and whoever else we put back there, whether it's Damani Richardson or Eamon Rory, they ain't testing us throwing the ball. I can't stress this enough to you, Panther Nation. We got to be able to stop the run before we can focus on a pass rush. I'm hearing too many hosts, whether it's Locked On or Panthers Playbook, they're worrying about pass rushes when in the same breath they're saying we had historically the worst run defense.
Bruh. What a dumbass. Dumb shit.
Stupid. Look, you can't mop the floor without sweeping it first. That just makes no sense. That's an analogy I use for my kids. If you're going to beat me throwing the football, so be it. I got to fix the holes on the front line first. The truth of the matter is I get it. Dan's doing a good job getting defensive guys to plug these holes. Doing a good job, but you still got to answer the other question. Where are your rotational pieces? No. I get it. You've got some guys there already. You need developmental guys as well. There are, however, two guys in the 4th and 5th round that I really do like. One of these guys who could very well be a guy who could be a definite block eater. And that would be Jameer Caldwell, defensive tackle out of Oregon, 6'2", 332 pounds. And as well as Jordan Phillips, 6'1", 312. But I'm going to tell you, the guys that I really, really like, I want one of these guys in the top 3 rounds, whether it's Kenneth Grant, the big beast out of Michigan. I already know the odds on us getting Mason Graham are going to be few and far between. Because I've seen he's probably going to be gone more than likely within the top 5. It could be stretched to top 8, possibly. But if he's sitting there, the question remains is, do we go get him? And I think the answer is almost a resounding yes. You do tie him with Derek Brown. And I know a lot of people are going to say, what you said, Tet McMillan. Well, as much as I want Tet, there's a couple other options out there. And basically what I'm doing is I'm breaking down what we were able to get, you guys, as well as what we need to do next going forward. As I said, with the defensive front, we were able to procure. You got two guys that are really good against the run, and you could arguably say that Wharton is actually pretty good against the pass. He's a good push in the pocket, but here's the reality. That's only 2 guys and 3 with Derek Brown. A'Shawn Robinson was pretty good, but Shy Tuttle didn't show up the way he needed to. But you got to have that one guy. And I'm going to be honest with you, I see about 4 guys in this draft that I'm just drooling over. Kenneth Grant's one. The big Deion Walker, 6'7", 331 pounds. As I said, Darius Alexander, a guy whom is just shot up the boards in just the last 8 hours. Going from 120th all the way up to 66th. So you already know what that means. When PFF is saying that these guys' grades are going up like this, you can best You can bet your bottom dollar that the GMs and the head coaches and defensive coordinators see this as well. And of course, another name that jumped up out of the middle of the third round into the high third was a guy named Alfred Collins, but once again, he's dropping again. Shamar Turner was a guy that was down early stages of this process. He's still at 86. And as I said, we've already gone through the tackle positions. But as we said, we get that line right, guys. I don't care if we got to rotate 8, 9 guys on it, and that includes edge. Because we still have DJ Johnson and Amari Barno, my guy, who was hurt most of last year. Hopefully he's ready and he can be that guy. He can be that silent guy that gets his shot. But ultimately, I think there's going to be a wide room. Hopefully he can get in there to make a difference. But I think ultimately when you put two former Minnesota Vikings together that played together, it's a possibility that some things could go right for the Carolina Panthers. I think ultimately Coach Avero is going to have to do some different things this season. But I think ultimately what's going to be needed is they're going to have to draft one guy, and they're going to for the edge, and they're going to have to draft a guy at the tackle, defensive interior, excuse me. And I've seen a lot of people saying that we need to get a receiver and 2 line guys. No argument there. As I said, I think ultimately Patrick Jones is going to be a great addition. As I said, they've got history. These guys have played together, and in that system in Minnesota, and Patrick Jones arguably had his best season this year. And I think this would be great on third downs. If you can get the right combination there and these guys can make it work, I think it'd be a huge asset to this. I thought ultimately when I saw the waiver wire came up that the 49ers parted ways with Leonard Floyd, who's a hometown guy that we know about here in Lawrence County, I was sitting there thinking to myself, oh, wow, here's our chance. Because if you guys notice, my first year I was doing this, and Leonard Floyd was a free agent, and he ended up going to Buffalo. My whole attitude was, yes, let's get this guy. Yes, let's get this guy. So you're looking at a guy like Pat Jones who has the same near measurables as one Shamar Stewart. So, I'm looking at this and I'm saying to myself, this guy could be our breakout guy. We may not necessarily have to go out and go high on edge. Now, I will say this. People are going to say, does that mean the Carolina Panthers need to go cornerback in this draft? No, what it simply means is that the Carolina Panthers and Dan Morgan, they need to decide whether or not, listen carefully, whether or not they need to trade down. I don't think we need an extra corner. People are going to sit there and they're going to say, oh, Mike Jackson's just good for this, that, and the other. Listen, if we're getting pressure, it doesn't matter what Mike Jackson does. You get a rookie out there, there's going to be very few guys out there that's going to come out there and they're just going to put their stamp on a game that quick. And I honestly do not think you need to take a cornerback at 8. You need to take the best player available. If the best player is available is something you don't necessarily need, find you a bidder. See if you've got a bidder. See if you can find somebody that's going to accommodate what your wishes and desires are. I look at it from the standpoint that this could be a huge season for Pat Jones as well as DJ Wanham. Because Wanham didn't have a full season, and most people sitting there saying, I heard Julian Council say he didn't do very much this year. Dude didn't play over half the season. He had darn near more sacks than everybody on the roster. I see great things this year. If Pat Jones can be that threat off the edge, and DJ Wanham can get just man blocking assignments out there, and this defensive front can push the pocket. There were many times Wanham got up in the backfield. Problem is we got no push up front. And I'm going to correct Julian Council and many of those guys on Panthers playbook. It does you no good if your pass rushers can get around the tackles and they leave that great big old gap and the front guys are getting no push. Doesn't do you a bit of good. That was what won Philadelphia that Super Bowl. And see, now Williams, whom a lot of people are wondering, what did the Patriots do? They just won the battle. They swooped in at the last minute. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go on record and I'm going to say this. I'm glad it happened. Because we would have massively overpaid for him. He's a good player without a doubt, but you got to think the other two big horses on the side of him. Carter and Davis ain't no joke. So while Julian Council and everyone else is saying that Georgia defense, go with Jalen Walker, no. Those guys are only as good as their defensive interior and their surroundings. I don't need guys that are already accustomed to playing with good players around them, and they need those type of guys to thrive. That's not what we need. We need guys like Aiden Hutchinson. Trayvon Walker ain't getting it done in Jacksonville. He ain't even the best player on that defense. He ain't even the best pass rusher on that defense. So scratch anybody that sits there and says Georgia edge rushers have a good record, because they do not. We've heard many people say that their techniques need to be refined. Look, Trayvon Walker ain't hitting on nothing. Aiden Hutchinson had more sacks than he did in just 7 games. And would have probably broken the NFL record had he not broke his leg.
Is that your best?
Bruh. Let's look at the history, people. But I'm simply saying, guys, we made a splash. I'm happy about it. I think we're on the road to the right move. But we still need to get one defensive interior guy, one edge guy, and I could argue a wide receiver. And you got some guys in this draft class that you could get, arguably late second, early third. And there's one guy I want to throw out there. If we really want to get a corner that is going to be a raw product, but I'm going to tell you, he could be a beast if we get him. And he's slowly moving up the draft board. His name is Za Frazier. If you watch my show, you've been seeing that I've talked about this kid. Now, let me tell you why he's such a special specimen. He ran a 4.38 40 at the combine. He's 6'2", 186 pounds. He's a physical player who isn't afraid of contact, an active run defender who can make plays in that department, does an excellent job of limiting big plays when targeted. Above average ball skills, had 6 interceptions and 5 pass breakups in 2024. Now, you're probably wondering, why is he ranked as the 201st cornerback in the draft? I'll tell you why, because he played at University of Texas, San Antonio. I say this guy is going to get drafted, and it would not shock me if he made some serious plays at camp. But looking here, if anybody wants to talk about possibly drafting a corner, there's about 4 in this class that I am absolutely crazy about. Now, everybody likes Siobhan Revel, the 6'1", 194-pounder from East Carolina. He's got a lanky body, but then if I had to take one, I want to take Darian Porter, who's got a 3rd-round grade, 6'2", 195, and ran a 4.38 40. You heard me. So these are 2 guys that I'm actually looking at. If the Panthers had to take this, that's what they need to take. And then as far as the wide receivers, I know the 3rd round will be busy. That's why I say if we could possibly trade back, and procure a couple of picks, that would be awesome. Not a big fan of the Luther Burden and the Emeka Egbuka. I'm not. I'm just not a big fan of that. I am a fan of Jaden Higgins, the guy that ran the 4.46, and he's 6'4", 214 pounds.
God damn!
Y'all give me a thumbs up in the comments if you like that. Jaden Higgins, the 63rd ranked player. Wide receiver, he's 6'4", 214 pounds. Had 87 grabs for 1183 and 9 touchdowns in 2024 out of Iowa State and ran a 4.46. Can go up and get the ball, and we'll go up and get it. And the other guy that I'm looking at, who's fallen down the wayside is Savion Williams, 6'3", 222 pounds. Not a very fast guy, but he's definitely a good get up and go type of guy. Caden Prather out of Maryland. This was a guy that was up there in the 80s at one time. He's fallen down to 115 here. 6'3", 204 pounds. Love that size, you guys. And listen, these are just a few of the names I'm throwing out here that need to be looked at. But the final piece is everybody's talking about running back. I'm going to give two opinions on this. I think there's a guy that we need to sign. He's been a Panther before. He's the exact opposite of Chuba Hubbard, but he's also a guy that can get it done. And I'll do a show on that later. But if the Panthers go the way of the draft, Bashul Tootin, running back out of Virginia Tech, 5'9", 206 pounds. Fumbles are an issue with him, but he ran a 4.32 at the combine. Oh, yeah. So, guys, while we're looking here, I just want to tell you I'm very excited about what we're able to do in free agency so far. I was not, however, happy that I saw Hassan Reddick sign with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for $14 million. And I get it. More than likely, it was a situation where possibly the parties involved were not happy about the way things went the last time. You also see the guys that are left available. You see Joey Bosa still available. Aziz Ojulari. Josh Sweat signed with the Cardinals for big money. Khalil Mack re-signed with the Chargers for $18 million. And as I said, I'm sitting looking at this and I'm saying, was there a way we could have gotten this done? These other deals done. As we saw, Milton Williams went to New England for 4 years, $104 million. That's not a bad deal to get away from. I did think that guys like Jonathan Allen, we probably swung and missed on because of just what we were unable to do. You see, Grady Jarrett was another guy I was just kind of like, And the Bears snapped him up. So, yeah. So, on an A+ to B+, and all of that beautiful stuff, I would have to give Dan Morgan about a B+ when it comes to what they were able to accomplish and how they were able to get it done. I still would have liked to have seen them gather a big name in the receiving core, but hey, we still got a ways to go. We still got the real free agency period to start tomorrow. But there's always the draft. As I said, we could very well take out another one of these big names at the edge position and go Ted McMillan in this draft. I still think that you have some great corners out there, contrary to what people are listening to. You don't have to take Will Johnson, a guy who's coming off of an injury, and you have that same situation that you have with Jonathan Brooks resurface again. But guys, let me know about the tampering period and what kind of a tampering period the Carolina Panthers have. Comment below. Do you think the Panthers had an A, a B, a C, or a D? And let us know, and I'll read your comments on the air. And while I am doing that, let us take a look at a little bit of housekeeping. It's been a minute since I did that because you guys have been relatively quiet. Stop the Cap says, I like that Eamon Rory. Great, so do I. I love him too. And I'm going to tell you, you guys go and watch the couple of the highlights that I got on this guy, and you will like him too. This guy gets at it. He goes at it. He don't be playing around. He goes hard, and he goes hard. He really does. He goes at it, and, you really can't blame this guy for how he goes. He really goes and he goes. But that seems to be the only comment that I am getting at the moment. Oh, Big growl out to Quentin Green. Thank you so much, my friend, for joining the Growling and Prowling family. Guys, if you join the channel, please make sure you put your name in the comments. It's imperative that you do that. I want to be able to give you all a growl out when you do that. I want to be able to recognize the fam. And as I said, keep up the subs so I can keep growing and we can keep growing as a family. Also, before we get out of here, make sure you go by the Facebook page, Growling and Prowling, and also go by the Facebook group so we can keep up with the shenanigans of all that I'm going to be doing. Make sure you comment. If there's certain things on the program you want to see or questions you have, please make them known. Go to my Instagram at Mr. CeeLo so you can find out all the other shows that I will be involved in during the off season. But until the next time, keep prowling the airwaves and keep growling out. Keep pounding.